every age, there are men who burn with a flame too wild for the world to tame. And among them, there was Alexander. Born in 356 BCE in Pella, the ancient capital of Macedonia, Alexander the Great's name was etched in the annals of history not merely for his military prowess, but for the fierce intensity with which he lived, loved and longed. Behind every conquest, behind the glint of his sword and the weight of his crown, there pulsed a deeply human heart. This is the story of that heart, of his passions, of the men and women who dared to love a legend, and of how love itself shaped a king who sought to conquer the world. They met as boys, both noble, brilliant, bound for greatness. Hephaestion Amintoros was tall, striking and soft-spoken. Where Alexander was fire, Hephaestion was water. Plutarch, one of the few ancient voices to whisper about their bond, compared them to Achilles and Patroclus. And Alexander believed it, worshipped it. He saw himself as the new Achilles. And in Hephaestion, he found his Patroclus, his truest friend, perhaps his only equal, and some say his greatest love. They studied under Aristotle, marched side by side into Persia, and shared tents as often as they shared dreams. When Alexander married, Hephaestion was never far. And when Hephaestion died suddenly in Ecbatana in 324 BCE, Alexander broke. He refused food, tore his clothes, hung his golden locks over Hephaestion's body. He ordered that sacred flames be extinguished for the morning, something reserved only for kings. He demanded Hephaestion be worshipped as a divine hero. Some say Alexander never recovered, that a piece of him, perhaps the only soft part, was buried with Hephaestion. But love for Alexander was also strategy. In 327 BCE, high in the mountains of Bactria, Alexander captured a fortress and encountered a woman whose beauty would rewrite his fate. Roxana. Young, noble, fierce. The sources tell us little, that she was the loveliest woman they had seen in Asia, that Alexander saw her and loved her truly, that he married her not just for peace, but for desire. Their marriage shocked his men. She was not Macedonian, not Greek, but Alexander made her his queen. He made her learn Greek, brought her into his court, and refused to set her aside even when political marriage to another could have sealed alliances. It is said Alexander watched her dance before the wedding, dropping his sword in awe. That the night of their union, he treated her with unexpected tenderness, placing his helmet between them, pledging not to touch her until she gave herself freely. From this union came a son, Alexander the Fourth, though he would never know his father. In 324 BCE, at Susa, Alexander orchestrated a grand wedding. He and 92 of his officers married Persian noblewomen in one massive display of unity. He married 2 more women, Statera II, daughter of Darius III, and Parysatis, daughter of Artaxerxes III. Some call them pawns. Others see them as symbols of a new world, one where East met West under Alexander's banner. But history tells us little of affection in these unions. It was Roxana who travelled with him, who bore him a child, and it was Roxana who would later orchestrate the murder of Statera, ensuring she remained the only queen. Then there was Bagoas, a Persian eunuch, young and renowned for his beauty. Plutarch recounts a scene. During a public event, Alexander kissed Bagoas, and the troops cheered. It wasn't scandal. It was spectacle. It was Alexander's world, and he defined its rules. Their bond, perhaps romantic, perhaps not, spoke to Alexander's ability to blend cultures, to defy convention, to live as no one else dared. In Bagoas, Hephaestion, Roxana, and the others, we see Alexander's expansive heart, one that could love fiercely in many forms. Alexander died in 323 BCE in Babylon. Some say he was poisoned. Others, that grief and exhaustion claimed him. He was just 32. He left behind empires and ruins. He left a world fractured in his name. And he left Roxana, carrying his son, in a kingdom that no longer had a king. Roxana and her son were eventually murdered, victims of the power vacuum. Hephaestion lay in a hero's tomb, and the love stories of Alexander faded into stone and silence. Alexander the Great loved in ways that defied his time. He loved men. He loved women. He loved power, legacy, myth. But at the center was always longing, a deep, unquenchable need to connect, to be remembered, to conquer not just lands, but the loneliness of greatness. In the ashes of his empires, what endures is the way he loved. No tomb contains him, no name can hold him, but in every story of impossible love, there echoes the footstep of a man who once saw the world as something to be both held and kissed.